Hello Internet, my name is Ren. This is Ren Rants, a channel where I rant about many things that I care about with a particular focus on pop culture and politics. In this video, we're going to talk about Season 2, Episode 2 of the Orville, Primal Urges. But before we get into that, I have a quick tangential rant to explain what happened to my review of the premiere of the Orville Season 2, Jaloja. I had, I think, a 27-minute video that I spent a considerable amount of time editing and that I had added a number of clips to, and it was taken down and blocked within minutes of it being uploaded by Fox for a copyright claim. And I found that incredibly frustrating because it's still very much a review. I think my use of the content was very much transformative, and I was giving a positive review of the show. You know, like, one of the main successes of this show has been from word of mouth, from people being so excited about this show because they're sure as shit not getting any support from the critics for this show. And so, as a fan who put this much time and effort into positive content about this show, I am very frustrated to immediately have it taken down. The appeals process is a joke, so I'm not even going to worry about it. I will try to re-edit and upload that video with fewer clips, and in the future I'm just going to use way less clips, way less content from Fox or CBS because I just don't have the patience for this anymore. I'm an incredibly busy person. I work full-time, I do law school part-time, I have a chronic illness, I try to do 2 YouTube channels, and I try to have time for my art and my family and living, existing in general, and so to put this much time and effort into something and have it immediately taken down is just not something I'm willing to do anymore. It's not something I'm willing to deal with. So these reviews are going to be shorter. There are going to be more spoiler-free reviews, and when I do talk about spoilers, it's not going to be so much of a play-by-play of the plot, because realistically that's probably not why you're watching these videos anyway. You've probably already seen the episodes, so you don't need me to hold your hand and give you a full summary and recap of the episode. If you are looking for that, you can probably find that over at Egotastic Fun Time with my friend JP. He's a really cool dude, and his videos are much more detailed, and his predictions are killing it. So if that's more what you're looking for, definitely check out his channel. This video for Primal Urges is going to be more of a spoilery review because at this point the episode has been out for a couple of weeks, so I think everyone has probably seen it more than once. So I'm not going to worry too much about spoilers, but in the future there will be a spoiler-free section of the video, and then towards the end a spoilery section, so that those of you who have not seen a certain episode or piece of content don't have to worry about spoiling yourselves, and I don't have to worry about making 2 separate videos. So, with all of that out of the way, and all of my frustration out of the way, let's jump into a look at Primal Urges. This episode was originally supposed to air in Season 1, before Mad Idolatry, and to some extent you can kind of tell, but I think they worked it in early enough in the season that it ends up being pretty seamless, and it is hard to tell that it was really intended to air in the previous season. And I actually think the passage of time between when it would have originally aired and now adds a little bit more gravity to the plot, especially because we saw Bortus a little bit more in the previous episode as well, and so already having the focus on him and then bringing back that previous plot creates some really interesting character development that we get to see. So this episode has an A plot and a B plot. The B plot is more of the sci-fi concept that is overarching the episode and is sort of the impetus for all of the major things that happen, but really this episode is about the A plot, which is Bortus and Clyden's relationship. So the B plot is much easier to summarize and is much shorter. Basically, the Orville is witnessing a sun in the process of going supernova. One of the last planets in its solar system seems to be uninhabited, but when the Orville takes a closer look at it because of some deposits of ore that it's interested in mining, it discovers a subterranean civilization with, I think, around 75 survivors. and they moved underground to try and protect themselves from the destruction of the planet and their sun, but of course that's not going to help them. So the Orville begins trying to plan a rescue mission. The A plot starts out with Bortus clocking off early and lying to his coworkers and saying he's not feeling well or that he has to spend time with Clyden, only to go down to the environmental simulator and start up some erotic Mocklin programs. And then we find out he's also lying to Clyden and telling Clyden that he has to work late and he's not very interested in sex with Clyden. And it gets to the point where Clyden is feeling very frustrated and neglected. He tries to talk to Bortus several times about the situation. And eventually, after Bortus cancels dinner and still refuses to perform the sexual act, Clyden decides to divorce Bortus. And Mocklins like to divorce by doing a stab to one's chest. Bortus is luckily saved by the medical staff aboard the Orville, and the captain prescribes them couples counseling if Clyden wants to remain aboard the ship. Because originally the captain was, put Clyden in the brig, was going to have him removed from the ship, but Bortus begged to keep him aboard, and the condition was that they have to work out their relationship. So we see the couples counseling, and there are some moments where it seems like they're kind of reconnecting, but then Bortus continues avoiding spending time with Clyden and instead going to the environmental simulator for more erotic programs. He buys a sexy program from a colleague who is apparently from a species that is good at procuring porn and presumably drugs implicitly. And Bortus orders a program with a number of adventurous Mocklins, and while he's engaging with that program in the simulator, Clyden catches him in the act and is very, very displeased. So it's revealed during a counseling session afterwards that the reason that Bortus developed the addiction to the simulator was because he felt alienated and resentful towards Clyden after the events of About a Girl, which is the episode in season 1 where Bortus and Clyden have a child. Bortus becomes pregnant and gives birth to a female Mocklin, but in Mocklin society, almost all female babies are given surgery to conform them to the all-masculine ideal. And Bortus was initially willing to do the procedure but became opposed to it the more that he thought about it, and Clyden was not opposed to the procedure, and they ended up going through with the procedure, and Topa was made into a boy, and it was never really dealt with beyond that episode initially. So I really like that they've rounded all the way back to that to kind of show that at first Bortus tried to make it work, but then the cracks in the foundation just grew and grew and grew, and it manifested in this awful problem that ended up making Clyden feel betrayed and brought all of that resentment to the surface. And I think that it ended up being a interestingly human story considering the somewhat bizarre setup to the whole concept. And so Bortus, after he reveals to Clyden why he's so upset, initially tells him he doesn't know if he will ever be able to move on, and they're sort of in a really dark place in their relationship where neither of them really knows what's going to happen next. But Bortus is summoned to solve some of the issues in the B-plot because he has caused some of the issues in the B-plot. You see, that program that he got from a coworker had a computer virus that made a bunch of systems aboard the ship malfunction. The food synthesizers started to produce funky things, all kinds of little things like that where they would get locked out of different controls, just a stuff going wrong kind of plot like you see in a lot of older Trek episodes where there's just a bunch of weird little systems failures that are initially unexplained. And so that was a nice way to sort of bring the A and B plots back together. So now they have to deal with this virus, and they also have to figure out how to rescue the people of Nixia, who are the 75 remaining colonists from the subterranean civilization. The plan is for Clyden and Bortus to go and take a shuttle and take 2 trips to bring them back aboard the Orville while the Orville blocks the radiation with its deflectors. And even then, really only Clyden and Bortus can do this mission because of the radiation. But when they're going down for the first trip, the destruction of the planet begins to accelerate, and it turns out they can't do 2 trips, and they'll only be able to bring half of the colonists. So the colonists do a lottery, and the Minister Thies stays behind because, as the leader of the society, she doesn't feel like she should be going at the expense of one of her people, but her husband and her child are chosen in the lottery and are going to be going aboard the Orville. They have an emotional goodbye that reminds Bortus of his own family and his feelings towards Clyden and Topa, and he decides that despite what they've been through, he wants to work it out with his family because he doesn't want to be in a position where he's losing them. So back aboard the Orville, we get just a nice resolution where half of the colonists are saved, and Captain Mercer is very angry and yells at Bortus for his irresponsible porn consumption, but also compliments Bortus for his bravery and for risking his life to save those people. And we see that Bortus is now in a position where he's willing to make progress on his relationship with Clyden for the sake of their family. And man, that was a concise episode that really brought us back to that plot, really developed those characters and their relationship, and I was really impressed because I did feel like the premiere of this season was a little bit shaky, but still really good, and then afterwards, every episode so far consistently has been really strong and has had a lot going for it. I really like this episode. I love Bortus episodes. I love that we get to see more of Bortus and Clyden together, and I think that this episode was a great way to really round out that plot line and give us some follow-up. And I think that it's really nice how the Orville sort of is able to balance the episodic kind of nature of Trek shows where you can sort of pick and choose and watch single individual episodes and still know what's going on, but there's a little bit more continuity than we'd normally get from Trek, where it really does seem that we get reminded of a lot of plot lines and storylines from previous episodes, and I think they've definitely changed things up so there's a little bit more focus on the characters and the drama, and a little more judicious use of the comedy and sci-fi concepts, but when they use them, they are really strong. Overall, I'm so happy that this show is back, and I will be trying to kind of rapid fire get out the rest of the reviews to catch up with the Orville, and so I will be doing a review of Season 2, Episode 3, Home, very soon. So, do you think that this episode fits better in Season 2, or would you have liked to see it back in Season 1 before Mad Idolatry? Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. If you like my videos, subscribe. If you don't, I'm sure you'll tell me. See you next time. Wiedersehen.